The morning sun had just begun to spread its golden light across the city, painting the cracked pavements and glass towers with warmth that felt almost ironic. For most people, it was just another bright weekday, a day full of meetings, coffee runs, and chatter. But for Emma, it was the hardest morning she had faced in months. She held her daughter Lily's tiny hand as they walked past the toy store, its windows bursting with pink boxes, dolls in shimmering dresses, and smiling faces that seemed to belong to another world, a world she could no longer afford to touch. Lily stopped suddenly in front of the display, her eyes widening in innocent wonder. "Mommy, look. It's Barbie. Can I have one for my birthday?" she asked, her voice full of hope so pure that it pierced through Emma's heart. Emma knelt beside her daughter, forcing a smile that trembled at the corners. She brushed a strand of hair from Lily's cheek and whispered the words that no mother ever wants to say, "I'm sorry, sweetheart. Mommy can't get you a Barbie doll for your birthday. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of good hearts, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your small action helps us keep spreading stories that remind the world love still exists." Emma worked as a cashier at a small grocery store, her hours long and her pay barely enough to cover rent, bills, and a little food. Her husband had left 2 years ago, leaving her alone to raise Lily. Since then, life had been an endless cycle of sacrifice and survival. There were nights when she would skip dinner so her daughter could have milk and cereal. Days when she'd sew her worn-out uniform by hand, too ashamed to ask anyone for help. But the hardest part wasn't hunger or exhaustion, it was watching her daughter wish for simple things she couldn't give. That morning, after walking away from the toy store, Emma's heart felt heavier than ever. Lily, though small, understood more than her mother realized. She didn't cry or throw a tantrum, she just held her mother's hand tighter, as if saying, "It's okay, Mommy." That silent gesture broke Emma even more. At the store, the day was unusually busy. The grocery chain had recently been bought by a large corporation, and word had spread that the new CEO would visit that afternoon. Everyone was nervous, adjusting uniforms, wiping counters, and double-checking price tags. Emma, despite her tired eyes and fraying sleeves, worked with quiet dedication, greeting every customer with a soft smile. By noon, a sleek black car pulled up outside, drawing everyone's attention. Out stepped a tall man in a sharp suit, Mr. Jonathan Hale, the new CEO. His presence commanded attention. He was known for turning struggling companies into success stories, but also for his reputation as being distant and tough. Employees whispered about how he fired people on the spot for minor mistakes. Emma just prayed she wouldn't be noticed. But fate had other plans. As she rang up a customer's items, a small voice called from across the counter. "Mommy, look. Barbie." It was Lily again. Emma's neighbor had brought her along to the store since she couldn't afford daycare that day. The little girl held a pink Barbie brochure she'd found outside, clutching it like a treasure. Mr. Hale, who had just entered the store, stopped at the sight of her. His sharp eyes softened for a moment, curiosity flickering across his face as he watched the mother and child. Emma flushed with embarrassment, quickly taking the brochure from her daughter. "Lily, not now, sweetheart," she whispered. But Mr. Hale approached the counter, his tone firm yet calm. "Is she your daughter?" he asked. Emma nodded nervously, expecting a reprimand for having a child at work. Instead, he looked down at Lily and smiled faintly. "You like dolls, do you?" Lily nodded shyly. "I wanted one for my birthday, but Mommy said we can't get it right now." The air went still. Emma's face turned pale. She wanted to sink into the ground. "Sir, I'm so sorry," she didn't mean, but he raised a hand gently, stopping her. His eyes lingered on the small girl's face for a moment before turning back to Emma. "How long have you been working here?" he asked quietly. "Almost 2 years, sir," she replied, voice trembling. "Do you like your job?" Emma hesitated. "I do, sir. It helps me take care of my daughter. I just wish I could do more." Jonathan Hale didn't respond immediately. He gave a curt nod and walked away, leaving Emma's heart pounding. She feared she'd said something wrong, that maybe her job was now on the line. For the rest of the day, she worked in silence, every second dragging like an hour. When the store finally closed, she gathered her things, ready to head home. But as she reached the door, the manager approached her nervously. "Emma, the CEO left something for you," he said, handing her a small envelope and a wrapped box. Emma froze. "For me?" Inside the envelope was a handwritten note. It read, "Sometimes, the smallest dreams reveal the biggest truths. Thank you for your kindness and hard work. No child should ever feel forgotten on her birthday. Jonathan Hale." With trembling hands, Emma opened the box. Inside was a brand new Barbie doll, the exact one her daughter had stared at that morning. Her eyes welled up as she held it close, but before she could react further, the manager added softly, "There's more, he also approved your promotion. You'll be the new assistant supervisor starting Monday. Full benefits." Emma couldn't breathe for a moment. The weight of years of struggle, humiliation, and quiet sacrifice came crashing down in tears she could no longer hold back. She clutched the doll to her chest, crying not just for the gift, but for what it meant. For the first time in years, someone had seen her, not just as an employee or a single mother, but as a human being trying her best. That night, when Lily unwrapped her birthday present, her eyes sparkled brighter than the stars outside. "Mommy, she's beautiful," she squealed, hugging the doll. Emma watched her daughter's joy, her own heart overflowing with gratitude. She whispered a silent prayer for the men who had changed their lives in a single act of unexpected kindness. Meanwhile, somewhere in a tall office building across the city, Jonathan Hale sat alone at his desk, staring at an old photograph, a little girl holding a Barbie doll, smiling in the arms of a woman who looked a lot like Emma. His mother had been a single parent too, struggling just like her. She had passed away when he was young, and that memory had followed him through every success, every lonely night. Seeing Emma and Lily that morning had awakened something he thought he'd buried long ago, the reminder that behind every tired face, there's a story. He leaned back in his chair, whispering softly, "Happy birthday, little one," and for the first time in years, a small, genuine smile crossed his face. The next morning, Emma arrived at work early. She wore the same uniform, but her steps were lighter, her eyes brighter. When the other employees congratulated her on the promotion, she simply said, "Kindness still exists in this world. Sometimes, it finds you when you least expect it." If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, can change someone's world. Special request, comment below, what would you have done if you were the CEO in this story? As the sun rose once again over the city, Emma walked to work with Lily's laughter echoing beside her. The world hadn't changed much, but for one mother and her little girl, it had become brighter, warmer, and full of hope once more. Because sometimes, the simplest gifts don't just bring joy, they restore faith in humanity.